That day, I had an argument with my lawyer wife's male best friend. To stand up for her male best friend, she sent me to a detention center. After I got out, I decided to let go. I left the divorce agreement and departed, even sending my best wishes on Weibo before leaving. 10 minutes later, she called, cursing me to die. When her wish came true, she collapsed. The day I was released from prison, I saw dozens of unread messages on my phone, all photos of my wife with other men. In the photos, she was wearing a swimsuit, splashing water with the men. I met Sanya during a lawsuit, when she appeared before me as a legal assistant. In court, I was attracted by her clean and smart professional attire, and after the case ended, I began to pursue her frantically. After chasing her for 2 years without success, just when I was about to give up, one day she suddenly came to me in a daze, agreed to my pursuit, and asked to get married immediately. Only after marriage did I realize that some people's hearts can never be warmed. Before being with her, I knew she had a male best friend, but she said they were just friends, so I didn't think much of it. Looking back now, the day she accepted my pursuit was also the day Li Jing left the country. And our wedding day happened to be the same day Li Jing got married. Back home, I couldn't help but call her, but there was never any response. Just when I couldn't wait any longer, Li Jing sent me a video. In the frame, Xie was sitting across from him wearing a gorgeous evening gown. Then she took the wine glass from the man's hand, took a sip, and revealed a sweet smile. When was the last time I saw her smile like that? 3 years? 5 years? Maybe even earlier. Ever since Li Jing returned to the country, she had become increasingly cold toward me. At first, I was anxious and tried to communicate with her calmly, but she became impatient and thought I was making a big deal out of nothing. Jiang Chuan, I have my own dreams. I can't be by your side all the time. Don't be so sensitive. But when I saw intimate photos of her with other men on her secondary Weibo account, I couldn't help but confront her. What I received in response was even more cruel, cold violence. She blocked me and ignored me for 2 weeks. Through her actions, she showed me that I shouldn't lack trust in her regarding this matter. After that, I never questioned her again, but I secretly vowed that once I received 100 photos, I would leave. It hasn't reached 100 photos yet, but I can't hold on anymore. Each photo feels like a death warrant, making my spirit increasingly haggard. At midnight, there was still no reply from her, but I received another video from Li Jing. The main characters were him and Xie. This video tore my heart to shreds. I packed my bags, left the divorce agreement, and turned away without hesitation. Some tea. Hings, if not done now, there will never be another chance. The next day, I boarded the first flight to North City. Besides traveling, I had one more crucial task. I had been diagnosed with intracranial hypertension for some time and had been managing it with medication. During my time in prison, the episodes became increasingly frequent, with severe headaches that felt like thousands of needles piercing through my brain. My doctor advised me to visit the neurosurgery department at North City Hospital when I had time. The hospital housed the nation's most renowned neurologists, and there might still be hope. I had originally planned to accompany Xie for her birthday before going for the examination. But on her birthday, after I gave up $1 million contract to personally shop for her gift at the mall, I discovered her embracing Li Jing while shopping. That morning before leaving home, she had explicitly told me to keep things simple as she had work and would be busy outside until late. I suppressed my anger and tried to ask calmly, only to be accused of shamelessly stalking her. Seeing Li Jing's provocative smile behind her, I could no longer control myself and punched him. Xie immediately pushed me away as if I had touched a reverse scale and crouched down to gently caress his face with great care. Afterward, to avenge Li Jing, she actually reported me for intentional assault, sending me to a detention center. My medical condition was also delayed for a long time because of this incident, and only today could I come to North City for an examination. Just after getting off the plane, Xie's call came through. Jiang Chuan, congratulations on your release. I hope this imprisonment has made you more mature. I don't want to see you acting like a savage again. Her voice was cold, like an emotionless machine, completely different from the winter-melting smile in yesterday's video call. I raised an eyebrow and looked at the sky, clear and boundless, along with my mood, which had improved. Let's get divorced. At this moment, my mood was steady, as if I were talking about something trivial. The breathing on the other end of the phone caught for a moment, followed by a voice filled with anger. Jiang Chuan, I'm very busy here and don't have time to play along with your antics. It seems your time in prison hasn't helped you grow at all, truly wasting my good intentions. After speaking, without waiting for my response, she hung up the phone. In the past, hearing her criticism would have kept me awake for days, but now my heart felt surprisingly unmoved. Perhaps I had understood long ago, but still clung to unrealistic fantasies. After letting go, I only felt a sense of relief. Unfortunately, my realization came too late. I didn't have much time left. After completing the paperwork at the hospital, I began walking along the path of our memories. At first, He discussed business at a coffee shop near the law firm. Back then, with her shoulder-length hair, my first impression of her was that she was capable and efficient. Before long, I started inviting her to stroll through the nearby park. Inside was a popular dating spot for young people. Each time, I would pretend to get lost and lead her through it, while she would lower her head with slightly flushed cheeks, holding onto the edge of my clothes, too shy to look around. Later, I found her drowning her sorrows at a bar. During that period, I gave up on business and devoted myself entirely to staying by her side, comforting her. I even taught myself to cook, making her favorite sweet and sour fish. My sincerity finally won her over. We confirmed our relationship at the dinner table when she wiped her mouth and said to me, "Shall we give it a try?" A sharp pain shot through my head, and I instantly slumped to the ground. The pain spread from my head, and everything went black before my eyes. Frantically, I pulled the pill bottle from my pocket, but my hands were unsteady and it fell to the ground. My anxiety worsened the pain, and I curled up on the ground, clutching my head with both hands. A kind passerby handed me the pill bottle, and I quickly swallowed 2 pills. It took quite a while before I started to recover. Seeing my color improve, the stranger finally walked away with peace of mind. Through this passerby, I felt a long-forgotten sense of concern. I never hid my illness from CIE. The medical records were neatly arranged on the table, as were the medications I purchased. If she had paid even the slightest attention, she would have noticed something was wrong with my condition. I've had attacks in front of her more than once, but she never really looked at me, too busy laughing stupidly at her phone screen. "Jiang Chuan, you've disappointed Yi too much. Do you want Yi to never speak to you again?" Li Jing sent me a message. It seems he was right beside her when she called. I immediately blocked him. Now they want to reach out to me, but I couldn't care less. Back at the hospital, the admission procedures had already been completed. Lying in the hospital bed, I received a message from an unknown number. "Give up. You're not good enough for her." Laughable. I had already given up, but they thought I was just putting on an act. Of course, they were convinced I loved her too much to let go. Even if it were true, they wouldn't believe it. CIE's ability to become a legal advisor for major corporations and the star of a prestigious law firm was all thanks to my connections. Without my help to gild her reputation, with her ability level, she might have just become a regular employee today. Moreover, the news of being cheated on affects my public image, and my losses are far greater than theirs. They thought I would choose to endure silently rather than make it pu. Blick, so they acted recklessly. Clowns. I ignored it and blocked the number. When CIE called me, another payment bill of tens of thousands popped up on my phone. From my release from prison until now, adding up large and small amounts, it must be several 100,000, with remarks all showing Sanya XXX. This credit card is CIE's own, and to make repayment convenient, I also bound it to my phone. However, I'll soon be gone, so to remind her I called her again. After spending so much money, are you feeling better?" Through the phone, I could hear the tour guide's voice. "Are you feeling the pinch?" she said impatiently. "These are all necessary client relations expenses, and I remind you, Jiang Chuan, when I let you bind my credit card, you only have the obligation to pay the bills, not the right to monitor my expenses." Just as I was about to explain, the nurse's voice came through. "Bed number 3. Time for your blood test. You're in the hospital? What kind of trick are you playing now?" CIE's words made me laugh bitterly. Even the old doctor treating me knew to show some concern, yet my own wife's first reaction was to assume I was acting. "I'm really sick, not feeling well, so I came for a checkup." About the divorce I mentioned last time. CIE flew into a rage. "Have you had enough of this, Jiang Chuan? Know when to stop. I'm extremely busy here and don't have time to deal with your childish temper." Busy being intimate with Li Jing? Or busy flirting with him? If the 3 of us stood together, those 2 would probably look more like a married couple, and I'd seem less significant than a stranger. I sighed. Why is getting a divorce so complicated? Just as I was about to hang up, Li Jing's voice came through the phone. "Jiang Chuan, Yi hasn't been sleeping well these past few days because of your situation. I'm accompanying her to meet clients, and she's been absent-minded all day." I couldn't stand listening anymore, so I said a few words to him. "You won't blame me, right? You're just looking out for his best interests. It's good that you've been with me these past few days." I didn't hear whatever else was said after that. I simply ended the call. A wave of dizziness swept over me. Fighting through the pain, I posted their intimate photos on Weibo with the caption, "Wishing you both happiness." Less than a minute after posting, news immediately broke that Jinxing Group had unilaterally terminated their legal contract with CIE. The phone rang right after, with CIE cursing on the other end. "Jiang Chuan, are you determined to ruin me? You're disgusting. Why don't you just die?" Hearing these venomous words, I couldn't react for a moment. I only felt that our past memories had shattered like a mirror dropped on the ground, broken into pieces, impossible to make whole again. Immediately after, I heard someone cally. "Ing for a doctor, along with Xie's impatient voice. Jiang Chuan, are you done with your act? If you were even half the man Li Jing is, I would have much less to worry about. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in a hospital bed with a respirator on, and the throbbing pain in my head had somewhat subsided. I felt there might still be hope for me, but what the old doctor said next made my heart sink to the bottom. Young man, your condition has reached a critical stage and cannot be delayed any further. The surgery must be performed as soon as possible, but the success rate isn't optimistic. If you have any unfulfilled wishes, you should take the time to complete them now. The doctor's words left me frozen in place, as a strange chill swept through my heart. I realized this possibly meant the success rate of the surgery was not promising, and the doctor seemed to be suggesting that I should arrange my affairs sooner rather than later. However, facing this sudden death sentence, my heart remained unusually calm. After experiencing various spiritual torments, death had become a longed-for release for me. I slowly picked up my phone, my fingertips hesitating on the screen for a long while, but eventually pressed that all-too-familiar number. Yi's phone. At the end of my life, I discovered that the person I couldn't let go of was still her. My parents died early, and I was raised by my grandmother. After my grandmother passed away, Yi became the longest-lasting companion in my life. However, this companionship was filled with twists and bitterness. On the other end of the phone was still the cold message. The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. I put down the phone helplessly, understanding in my heart that I had once again been blocked by Yi. This was her usual tactic. Whenever I did something slightly against her wishes, I would suffer this treatment. She never gives me a chance to explain myself. Only when I kneel down and apologize does her expression begin to soften. Since I couldn't reach her by phone, I could only try to contact her through Weibo. However, the moment I opened Weibo, an overwhelming flood of insults and accusations popped up in my private messages, making it almost impossible to breathe. On Weibo, Xie portrayed herself as a victim who had endured hardship for the sake of our family, accusing me of subjecting her to long-term emotional abuse. She claimed that she had taught herself to cook just to please me, leaving countless knife cuts on her fingers, yet her efforts received not a shred of care or understanding from me. She even alleged that I had shouted at her harshly for accidentally breaking a cup. She went so far as to falsely accuse me of staying out all night and coming home with other women's hair on my clothes. According to her, whenever she questioned me about this, I would beat her and then cruelly block her. Contact. Reading this completely distorted Weibo post, I felt utterly hopeless. These things did indeed happen, but the victim was me, not her, Xie. Her private message cut me to the heart. Jiang Chuan, so what if I cheated on you? Everyone is on my side now, and you're just like a clown, losing completely. These words undoubtedly stimulated my fragile nerves, and my head hurt as if it was about to split open. I rolled and struggled on the hospital bed until I fell to the floor, my head repeatedly hitting the ground. The thudding sound attracted the nurse's attention. With her help, I gradually recovered from the pain. Mr. Jiang, why do you get headaches whenever you look at your phone? The nurse gently massaged my scalp and asked curiously. I smiled bitterly and said self-mockingly, perhaps this is my obsession before death. Afterwards, I slowly recounted my story. By the time the story ended, the nurse was crying uncontrollably, tears falling like pearls from a broken string. Just then, the phone suddenly rang, and I answered with a glimmer of hope. Mr. Jiang, due to your recent lifestyle issues, we have decided to terminate our cooperation with you and withdraw all investments. Additionally, we will pursue legal action for the negative impact you have brought to the company. Please be informed. I hung up the phone in disappointment, not because of the legal responsibility, but because that small fantasy had been shattered once again. In the following days, investors called one after another to withdraw their funding. The company's stock price continued to plummet, and my reputation hit rock bottom. Unfortunately, I didn't care about any of this. What's more terrifying than death is dying alone. My episodes have become increasingly frequent, progressing from initial dizziness to now relying on machines to sustain my life. I know I don't have much time left. During moments of remaining consciousness, I signed the surgery consent form and inadvertently noticed private messages in the back end again. I clicked on it and saw a picture of Xie and Li Jing embracing each other naked, passionately kissing as their bodies intertwined. The next second, a sharp pain stabbed into my mind like a needle point. I doubled over in agony, my entire body twisting like a tightly wrung towel, cold sweat pouring down like rain. With all my remaining strength, I replied to that private message, "Let's get divorced." Then, unable to hold on any longer, I fell unconscious. When I woke up, the hospital room was completely quiet. Looking up, I found only darkness pressing down before my eyes, unable to perceive any light. I quickly called for the doctor. Mr. Jiang, your condition has become extremely severe. The intracranial pressure has caused serious lesions. If you don't undergo surgery now, I'm afraid The doctor's words struck my heart like a hammer. I remained silent for a moment, then nodded firmly. Let's begin. Regardless of the outcome, I no longer wanted to continue living this way, barely clinging to life. The surgery process was long and painful, as if I had been drifting in darkness for countless centuries. When I woke up again, I found myself somehow back at home. I froze the moment I saw Sanya. How did I come back? Was the surgery successful? However, when I tried to approach her, I discovered my body had become transparent. I passed through her body as if moving through empty air. My gaze fell on the window beside Sanya, where only her reflection appeared. In that instant, I was dumbfounded. No miracle had occurred. My illness had been neglected for too long. If I had gotten surgery earlier, perhaps there might have been some hope. At that moment, the bedroom door opened, and Li Jing walked out. An ambiguous atmosphere permeated the air, making me feel nauseated. Even though I was already dead, seeing this scene still made my head feel like it was about to split open. Do you two shameless lovers intend to deny me peace even after death? Xie looked at Li Jing as he approached, her eyes full of tenderness. I was about to leave when Xie's voice came through, carrying a hint of questioning and confusion. Li Jing, why won't you agree to our divorce? So it was Li Jing who prevented Xie from divorcing me. And I'm very curious, since just now I haven't seen the diagnostic report that was left on the table. Looking around, I couldn't see that paper, but I clearly remember leaving it on the table when I left. Li Jing walked to Xie's side and held her tightly. Trust me. Before long, everything he has will be yours. Xie widened her eyes, looking at him in disbelief. Then, as if something occurred to her, she broke free from Li Jing's embrace and repeatedly tried calling me on her phone. However, the phone remained powered off. Of course, I'm already dead. Who would charge my phone now? Xie's expression grew increasingly troubled, and she couldn't help but smash her phone. Li Jing, what exactly do you mean by saying that? And during this time, when you didn't let me come back, were you hiding something from me? Li Jing's face darkened. Everything I've done has been for you. Don't tell me you've actually fallen in love with him? Initially marrying him was just to use his connections to climb higher. I was suddenly stunned, followed by a bitter smile. Yes, I probably knew it all along. I had pursued Xie for 3 years, and she only accepted me when Li Jing went abroad with his mistress. I foolishly believed I could earn someone's genuine love with sincerity. She loved watching fireworks, so I spent enormous sums arranging fireworks shows for her birthday every year. When she felt her career wasn't going well, I begged people and gave gifts to arrange comfortable irons for her. However, some people's blood might just naturally run cold. After Li Jing returned to the country, Xie gradually became distant from me, and our relationship grew increasingly cold. Having been exposed by Li Jing in person, Xie's face showed signs of embarrassment. With a crisp slap, a clear handprint appeared on Li Jing's face. Watching the conflict between these two makes me happier than if I'd earned millions. You need to calm down. Li Jing covered his face as he left. From behind, I told him to get lost quickly and kept pressing my palm against the spot where I had slapped his face. Although this couldn't make him feel humiliated, it certainly made me happy. Watching Li Jing's retreating figure, Xie revealed a dejected expression. I had only seen this expression on her face when Li Jing went abroad. Had she already started regretting her impulsive action right after slapping him? As soon as Li Jing left, the phone on the table rang. I looked and saw my name in the contacts. Wait, I'm already dead. So how could I be calling her? After answering, Xie directed her anger at me. Jiang Chuan, haven't you caused enough trouble? Excuse me, are you Mr. Jiang's loved one? This is North City Hospital. Mr. Jiang couldn't be resuscitated. Please come to handle the procedures. I heard the phone sound. It was the hospital calling. Perhaps they discovered my phone was out of battery, charged it, and then contacted Xie. I had saved her as wife in my contacts, so they could get in touch with her quickly. Upon hearing the news, Xie's face instantly turned pale, and she couldn't recover for a long time. Are you listening? I am. Did you say his surgery failed? Xie struggled to speak. The person on the other end was silent for a few seconds before saying, the intracranial pressure was too high, and the surgery failed. He said he had no family and signed the surgical risk form himself. Now, please come over to take him home. After hanging up the phone, Xie was stunned. Confirming it wasn't a prank, I watched as her face gradually turned pale. Then she rushed out like a madwoman. I was drawn by a powerful force and followed her out. Several hours later, Xie saw my dead body and finally believed I was gone. There was no pain on my face, only peace, and a slight hint of regret. Heaven was still kind to me. Despite my rapidly deteriorating condition, I didn't suffer much. I just didn't have time to cut ties with Xie. I was mentally prepared before the surgery. If successful, I would sell the company to pay off debts, then spend the remaining time traveling, exploring the world, and forgetting all the unpleasantness. Now that I'm dead, I've left behind enormous debt. I wonder if CIE will be able to bear this burden going forward. Looking at myself under the white cloth, I started to laugh. Let the Li Ving worry about worldly matters. If she can't handle it, she has only herself to blame for her self-inflicted suffering. CIE fainted right then and there. When she regained consciousness, she remained silent, simply changing my clothes, arranging my cremation, completing all the formalities, and taking my urn of ashes home. Seeing her dazed state, I felt somewhat surprised. She had gotten exactly what she wanted. She was the victor. Why was she looking like this? I wanted to stay behind, yet I couldn't leave her, so I could only follow her home. On the day of the burial, she was the only one there, silent with puffy eyes. After returning home, she lay on the sofa holding my memorial photo, not eating or drinking. Seeing her like this, I couldn't help but laugh. Why bother? I'm already dead. Who are you putting on this show for? I shook my head, feeling that I couldn't quite understand her. After several days of this, I really couldn't stand it and wanted to go out for a walk, but whenever I got too far from her, I would be pulled back. Sigh. If she doesn't leave, I can't leave either. This silence was suddenly broken by an unexpected knock at the door. Ms. Xia, your husband left behind a massive debt before his death, which you now need to repay. The lawyer pushed up his glasses and pulled out a document from his briefcase, handing it to CIE. I had once hoped to leave her enough wealth for a worry-free life. But this foolish woman ruined everything herself, accusing me of having an affair. Now investors have withdrawn their funding. The company couldn't maintain cash flow, and it completely collapsed. Leaving behind a huge debt that only she could repay was also a consequence of her own actions. In her panic, she dialed my phone number, and the ringtone sounded from within the bedroom. Only then did she realize she had dialed the wrong number. She dialed again and connected with Li Jing. When Li Jing arrived, it was already the next morning. He reeked of alcohol and had lipstick marks from other women on his neck. Upon entering the house, he was startled. The place was a mess, with all valuable items taken away. CIE was lying on the floor, looking as fragile as a porcelain doll. What happened? Li Jing asked in shock. Li Jing, you're all I have left now. CIE struggled to get up, her eyes gleaming with hope. She seemed to view Li Jing as her last lifeline. This hopeless woman. I couldn't help but sneer, ready to watch the show. She probably doesn't know yet that Li Jing's identity as a corporate executive is fake. I had investigated this guy long ago and warned CIE, but she ignored my warnings. My well-intentioned reminder became jealousy in her eyes, and my evidence became unreasonable nagging. CIE hugged Li Jing tightly and said tearfully, Jiang Chuan is bankrupt, and all his debts have been transferred to me. Only you can help me. What did you say? Li Jing pushed her away in shock, his face full of disbelief. A mocking smile curled at the corner of my mouth as I quietly waited for things to unfold. CIE held back her tears and pleaded, Li Jing, aren't you a senior executive at a big company? You must be able to help me, just like before. Hearing this, Li Jing's face darkened to the point where it could drip water, and the concern in his eyes was replaced by coldness. He pointed at CIE and shouted angrily, Look at yourself now. How dare you? CIE stood there in shock, clearly unable to comprehend what was happening. Seeing her confusion, Li Jing sneered. You used to be a wealthy madam, so of course I was willing to cater to your every whim. Now that you've fallen as low as a dog, why should I treat you like before? CIE stood frozen in place as if struck by lightning. I could no longer suppress my upturned lips, laughing uncontrollably. CIE, you deserve this, I shouted loudly in her ear. Unfortunately, she couldn't hear me, otherwise it might have woken her up from her delusion. Li Jing continued, I had intended for you to inherit Jiang Chuan's fortune after his death, so I always secretly provoked him in private. But you were truly stupid beyond measure, actually spreading rumors publicly, causing him to go bankrupt. All of this is your own doing. Well said. I couldn't help but applaud Li Jing. What a foolish woman. From beginning to end, I was the only one who was ever good to you. Years ago, CIE was deeply in love with Li Jing, but Li Jing only strung her along because she was a college student without power or influence. Later, Li Jing hooked up with a rich girl and abandoned CIE to go overseas. However, the good times didn't last long. After the rich girl grew tired of him and kicked him out, he couldn't survive abroad and was forced to return to China. After returning, seeing that CIE was wealthy, he started having other ideas. I had reminded her many times that Li Jing was only approaching her for money, but she ignored me and even left me alone for a month to rent an apartment with him. Now that Li Jing knows she's heavily in debt, he indeed abandoned her at the first opportunity. She actually still believed all those sweet words from before. Ridiculous. CIE raised her trembling hand, wanting to slap Li Jing, but he easily blocked it. This time Li Jing didn't coddle her, and immediately slapped her back, causing blood to seep from the corner of her mouth. You dare to hit me? CIE stared at Li Jing with wide eyes. unable to believe what just happened. Looking at Xie on the ground, Li Jing's eyes were full of contempt. Do you think you're still a high and mighty rich madam? Without Jiang Chuan, you're nothing now. Li Jing slammed the door as he left, leaving behind a devastated Xie. Looking at her pitiful expression, I felt not an ounce of sympathy. She had treated me this way countless times before. Now she was merely tasting the bitter fruit of her own actions. I turned and entered the bedroom. Through the closed door, I could finally no longer hear Xie sobbing. At that moment, all I wanted was to escape this heartbreaking place. The money from selling the furniture wasn't even enough to cover a fraction of the debt, so she had no choice but to auction off the property. The real estate agent, seeing her urgency to sell, charged her an exorbitant commission fee, leaving her with only enough money to repay half of her debts. For the remaining amount, she could only go door to door borrowing from her former friends. She dressed herself up beautifully and confidently knocked on the first friend's door. Upon seeing her, the friend slammed the door shut with a bang and threatened, "Leave immediately, or I'm calling the police." Xie stood frozen in place, at a loss for what to do. Neighbors around were attracted by the loud slam of the door, and curious gazes turned toward her. Amid the murmurs of onlookers, her face flushed red as she fled the scene. Unwilling to give up, she tried a second home, then a third, but the results were all the same. Either no one answered, or she was coldly driven away. Not a single person was willing to lend her money. I had anticipated this situation all along. Only she herself couldn't see her own true worth. Those friends only clung to her because of her privileged background. How many were truly sincere? I had personally overheard them privately mocking Xie for being brainless and narcissistic, saying she was merely riding on her husband's coattails. I had specifically warned her girlfriends about this, but she turned around and reproached me instead, complaining that I was affecting her sisterhood relationships. I apologized as she wished, yet couldn't earn even the slightest smile from her. Recalling the past events, my heart ached deeply. Yet seeing her in such a miserable state now, I couldn't help but laugh. The streets were cold and silent in the dead of night, as Xie walked lifelessly, like a mindless zombie. She had already begged all the friends she could, and in the end, those friends seemed to have colluded, tossing only a few coins through the crack of their doors to dismiss her, just like treating a beggar. The icy river wind struck Xie's face as she rubbed her arms and curled into a ball. Her once proudly held spine now seemed half as tall. She walked to the edge of the bridge and looked at the high railings, attempting several times to climb over. But each time she put one foot over, she fearfully retreated. I knew she didn't have the courage to face death. She simply couldn't accept the reality of falling from heaven to hell, rather than truly having the courage to face death directly. Sure enough, after getting down from the railing, she didn't try to climb over it again, but instead chose to walk home silently with her hair disheveled. Back home, facing the utterly messy room, she finally broke down and wept loudly. But the matter wasn't over yet, as my situation had been posted online. Public opinion quickly fermented. As fierce as the attacks on me had been back then, the criticism towards Xie now would only be more aggressive. Deceiving the public was the mildest evaluation of her. All her shameful past affairs were dug up, like being someone's mistress during college, and later advancing in her career through unspoken rules. As more and more exposés stirred up a huge commotion online, an article titled, "Original Wife Driven to Death. Famous Lawyer Has Affair with Male Best Friend, Even Sends Original Wife to Prison to Celebrate Anniversary," pushed the situation to a climax. This article triggered public outrage, with Xie's company being the first to bear the brunt. "Your company dares to employ such a despicable woman. I will never trust your company with my business again." To avoid suspicion, the company promptly issued a statement, abandoning both Xie and her direct supervisor. Hundreds of abusive calls each day forced Xie to change her phone number frequently, and she moved her residence again and again. However, she still received deliveries filled with razor blades. Eventually, she relocated to a remote village without internet access, covered her windows completely, and hid inside, afraid to come out. But even then, she found no peace. She remained paranoid, feeling as if someone was always behind her in the house, condemning her infidelity. Under immense psychological pressure, she used an awl to deafen her ears, attempting to escape the pain of reality. When the loan sharks found her again, she had already locked herself in the house for 2 months. When the debt collectors pushed open the door, a pungent smell hit them, causing them to retch at the doorway. Xie in the room no longer hid when outsiders came, and she grinned foolishly at them. Her skin was dry and yellow, having long lost her once sweet appearance. The men looked at each other, eventually deciding to take her back to the bar to clean toilets to pay off her debt. Daily cleaning of the filthy toilets seemed to become her only redemption. I just don't understand, having ended up like this, what is she still persisting for? Until that day, she suddenly smashed a bottle, picked up the shards, and lunged at a customer like a madwoman. The glass shard cut the man's neck, killing him instantly. Yet he didn't stop, continuing to stab the man repeatedly. By the time security arrived, the man's face was completely unrecognizable. But I saw clearly, that man was Li Jing. And this bar looked familiar to me too. In the photos Li Jing sent me, this was a place he and frequently visited. After doing this, she laughed maniacally as she pulled out a crumpled paper ball from her pocket. After unfolding it, it was my memorial portrait. She gently caressed it as if remembering beautiful times from the past, then finally picked up a shard and took her own life. Before dying, she looked at my silhouette, leaving behind tears of regret. And I turned and floated away. I was free. I let out a long sigh. Ciayi,